Today I will tell you how I became financially independent by age 37 with a system so easy that anyone can implement it. You feel skeptical? Good, you should. So let me clear out straight away that I have nothing to sell to you. This is just sharing a system that helped me immensely in building my wealth and escaping the rat race. I want to share it with you because it has improved my life so much. Just to give one example, I'm a father of three, and thanks to being financially independent, I can be with my kids in a completely different way than if I hadn't followed the system. As soon as the kids come home from school, I'm active with them, which means every day I have 5-6 hours with them on a weekday, and then on the weekend, of course, we can do things all day long. And this is worth so much more than any Rolexes or Porsches or whatever else I could have used the money on. So let's dive in. I can't take credit for this system on my own. I'm heavily inspired by two people. One very famous and one that you probably haven't heard before. Let's start out with the lesser known of the two. Please meet Mr. Money Mustache, or Peter Adeny, as his name is. This guy worked a normal job as a developer and managed to save 2/3 of his paycheck and retire at the age of 30. Sure, you think, 2/3, crazy. How can you do that? We're gonna dive into that in a little bit. The second person that has inspired this system is Warren Buffett, by many people considered to be the most successful investor of our time. When he was asked what he would recommend the average person to do when it comes to investments, he presented a very, very simple piece of advice. He recommended that you put everything in something called, you know what, let me save that for later. Let's first define what does it mean to be rich or financially independent. Everybody has a different definition of that. So my definition is that you're financially independent when you reach the point that your cash flow in covers your cash flow out. You don't need to work to keep your head above the water. That for me is the point when you're rich and when you reach financial independence. And if you think about it, that then of course depends a lot on how much you're spending every month. So part of the system is of course to dial down the spending, which takes me to point number 2. In order to be able to save a lot, you should come to the realization that more stuff doesn't buy you happiness. Think of all the things you bought that you were excited about and that are now sitting in a corner somewhere gathering dust. For me, the realization was the best use of money is to free up my time and to use it as a tool in order to liberate myself from the career rat race that I was in and that didn't fulfill me. To me, true happiness is to be able to follow your dream and to use your time every day in the way that you want to use it. Good, so now that we covered that more stuff doesn't necessarily buy more happiness, we're coming to the little bit difficult part of the system. You need to start saving money. You need to cut down your costs. The more money you cut down, the quicker you reach financial independence. When I think back of my time as a student, I consider those years some of the happiest of my life. And when I think of the money that I had accessible at that time, it's a fraction of what I have now or what anyone that has a normal job has at their disposal. It's just another way to underline that happiness and spending money are not necessarily correlated. And the best thing you can do is the next time that you get a raise or a career change, etc., is that you make sure not to do what most people do in that situation and just buy a nicer car, upgrade your costs, etc. This is what all the other people do. If you want exceptional results, you need to do it differently. I want you to stay at the same level and plow all those savings into your portfolio, into your investment portfolio. And I also want you to look at, make an audit, like I love to say, and cut back on all the unnecessary expenses. Okay, so if we now have managed to start saving money every month, what are we doing with all this money? Well, this takes me back to Warren Buffett. I promised you I will get back to what he recommended. He recommended for the average person to invest all their money in a product called an ETF based on the S&P 500. This might sound complicated and technical for you if you haven't been investing, but trust me, it's very, very simple. An ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. If I put it really simple, it's a product, the S&P 500 ETF, that takes the 500 largest companies in the US, so Microsoft, Facebook, or Meta as they're called nowadays, Coca-Cola, etc. And by buying that ETF, you get all of them. This means that you're well diversified and you don't have to think about buying and selling. You just buy and buy and buy and sit in this kind of product. And the nice thing is this product has so much history. It goes back to about 100 years. And so one can calculate an average return of this product, which is 7% per year. And this is including financial crises, the IT bubble, Corona dump, everything. On average, you're going to get back 7% a year and with minimal mental load. You just park the money there as soon as you get it. So now that you know the return of the product that you invest in, now you can calculate how quickly you can reach financial independence. Let's do an exercise together. Hi again. So in order to make this whole thing a bit more tangible, I fired up good old Excel here. Hope it's large enough for you to see. So I'm going to present a formula here to you so that you can calculate how much money you need in order to call yourself financially independent. So first we need to define how much money do you need per month. Of course, the lower this number goes, the faster you're financially independent. I chose the number 3,000 here based on that the average person in Germany takes home roughly 4,500 before taxes. So let's make it easy and just say after taxes, they make 3,000 per month. And we established that the return of the S&P 500 is 7% per year. However, we want this to be a resilient system. Some years are really crap. Their crashes do happen. And we don't want to get wiped out by the next recession. So we're going to lower this here to 4% and thereby giving us a buffer. This is a classic number as defined like the safe withdrawal rate, so that for the rest of your life you can just keep on taking out money from your portfolio, from the gains that it's making every year without depleting it. Think of it like a tree, like an avocado tree, for instance, that you just want to take enough avocado fruits from it without killing the tree. Okay, this example was crazy, but I think you get the point. The tax rate in Germany, I use that as a base for our example. Of course, the numbers need to be adapted for you, but on capital gains, it's roughly 30%. So here we have 3,000, 4%, 30, and with those three data points, we can calculate how much money we need in order to be able to fly freely, financially freely. So here's the formula. Let me make it visible to you. So X is your money invested times the safe withdrawal rate, 4%, times the tax rate, i.e. 1 minus 30% is equal 0.7, divided by 12 in order to get the monthly return, and we want that to be 3,000. So let's flip around all those numbers so we can calculate x here. And that will look like this, right? 3,000 times 12 divided by 4% divided by 70% will give us x. So let's plug that in here. So 3,000 divided by 12, times 12 divided by 4% divided by 70% equals, drum roll, bam, roughly 1.2 million, or 1.3 million if you round up. Yes, I know. It's a large number, but it's not an impossible number. It will take real sacrifice from you in order to reach financial independence, be it either via pushing down this number, right? If you make it on 1,500 per month, of course the number goes down radically. So something's got to give. Either you have to work really hard for a couple of years, or you have to trim your costs like crazy. The choice is yours. I chose to work really hard and to actively pursue a career that gives me a good cash flow, and I'm happy to do a future clip on exactly how I did that. But what you have now is a map, like a way, this is how you reach financial independence, and you know which parameters you can play with, right? You can make this your own. Do you want to do it low budget and retire early, or do you want a higher budget and maybe work a bit harder? The choice is yours. And I know it can be a daunting task, but for me it helped immensely to have a very tangible number connected to what I wanted to reach. Because if this is not clear to you, it will be so much clearer, like what the joy of buying a Porsche or the new iPhone or whatever is. But if you instead know, this is my goal, this is what I want to reach, you'll find, hopefully, like I did, that it's easier to save and to walk in that direction, to make the sacrifices that are needed in order to achieve your goal. If you like this video, consider that wealth is nothing without health. You need to work out and you need to eat right. I produced 2 videos on that. You might want to check them out. See you tomorrow.